Hey everyone, welcome to Pop XP. And before the show starts, make sure to click that subscribe button and click the bell to get notifications when we go live and we upload awesome new content. And don't forget, if you can, make sure to share our stream on all your social media outlets. We appreciate it, and thanks for helping us grow the Pop XP channel. Yo, what is up, YouTube? It's the brain of the mainframe here, Nile Scout with the Pop XP, and joining me as always is the teen sensation. He's never gonna age, and you know, sometimes I think my wife looks at him a little more than me, Mr. Billy Tucci.
Tucci.
And we got the Blevins in the house.
This guy,
the Dr. Blevins.
Dr. Blevins. I like the hair.
Yeah, it's super disheveled. Like it's called the comb without the wash ahead of time. So. It's great. It's great. I'm pretty sure it's going to pick up soon amongst people without access to running water.
Damn, bro. Shit. Wow. Those poor people in Detroit or whatever it is.
Dude, they're mad.
Damn, they're fucking
mad.
pissed
We're getting
now.
canceled tonight, boys.
That's right. That's why. So Blevins, man, what's going on? We haven't streamed with you in a little while. How you been, brother?
Yeah, I've been doing all right. You know, I was running my mayoral campaign for the last little bit, and yesterday the votes came through and they did not come in my favor. So it is what it is. Their loss. No, just kidding.
They failed the city. They failed the city.
I failed, you know.
Blevins, you got to take that city now.
Yeah.
Like the Batman.
By force. And that leads us to tonight's episode. I need all of your help. All of you come to Arkansas. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I mean it's bittersweet. You know, now I get to focus on some of the other stuff that I love, like you guys in this channel, and yeah, I'm really looking forward. You know, I've talked with Nile a lot. Have a lot of plans that I wasn't able to do because I was really focused on the campaign, and so I'm hoping this is going to be huge.
Kind of like start making some content.
Yeah, kind of like our guest tonight is huge, you know?
Yes,
yes. We got a great pair of guests tonight.
Absolutely.
Before I get to that, man, I had a crappy day. Well, I gotta tell you, Blevins, I was sad for you. You know, I know it's just it's your city and all, but man, I pulled my back out so bad. I pulled a muscle in my back, and it is still 3 days later, it's killing me.
Yeah, that's because you've been carrying my sign. You've been carrying the old Blevins, the Blevins.
Carrying the campaign.
On my
shoulder.
Well, true story. He was doing the reverse cowgirl and tweaked it.
Reverse cowgirl.
Yeah. So then today, when you called me, Scout, I'm like, I gotta go. So we're at the American Legion Hall, which I'm renting the top floor. They had a party, and it was a celebration of this really nice family's mother who passed away. And well, they brought all this food, and wouldn't you know it, the damn oven wasn't working.
No,
so now, of course, I can't get in touch with anybody. I'm trying to work. We're trying to fulfill. I got AJ here. I got Debbie here. We're packing books up. We're shipping them out. And now this family is not happy at their mother's, memorial service, So I end up trying to light this oven. There's a trick to it that, of course, the person that did it wasn't there. Anyway, make a long story short, I ended up taking all the food to my house and heating it all up. And it was the kind of food that had to be in the oven. It couldn't be a sterno heat up, And I took a couple of pans, took them to our house, put them in our ovens on the top and on the bottom, stuff like that. And Debbie had to leave, and just real stressed out, very stressful.
You're like a catering service.
Yeah, pretty much. And I'm going back and forth with food in my truck.
Is there anything you can't do, Billy? I mean, Jesus,
I can't cook. Debbie cooked, thank God. I wouldn't know what the hell to do with it.
Like you rented the penthouse suite of the American Legion Hall. Like, I don't even understand. What is your life?
Good. It's all part of the show. So that's that.
Well,
so who do we got on tonight?
Today was just a nutty day because it was in the middle of the daytime. So anyway, but the hell with this. We got Shane and Yanzi Davis on tonight, bro.
Facts.
That's it.
Facts, man.
These
So
are
this
facts.
is going to be a great show. Oh,
What? Here we are.
There we go, Billy.
thank you.
There
Did
it
it for
is.
you. I knew you would ask for it if I didn't do it.
I love it. I didn't know you were going to come in that quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were gonna do
How
an
are you
introduction.
guys?
How are you, Yanzi? I mean,
What? Huh? What?
I mean,
Oh.
tell everybody how you are despite me being here.
Oh, as well as I can do, I guess. I hope everyone else on the panel is having a great day.
Yanzi, how is Shane feeling? Because we know he was a little under the weather.
Well, he nearly died on me, so yeah,
Oh,
that's that.
jeez. Boy, it's been a
That's
fun
not-
going
that's not
around,
good.
huh?
Jeez, what is
Around
going
the
on?
CG circles with.
I had to drag
everything
him by
going
the leg across the bedroom or something like that. So yeah.
Well, look, you got Linkovich said Shane loves
Yeah.
it.
I love the band. There was a situation where she was like, I'm going to call an ambulance. I'm like, nope, I'm a man. She's like, what, are you going to drive? I'm like, no, I'm going to shake it off.
There you go. Just give you a
Like
stick
a hot
in your
shower.
mouth,
A
right?
hot shower. That's all
Yeah.
you need. That's all I do.
No
Hot
bullshit, though. No bullshit. I think I lost like 7 pounds in like 2 days.
Oh,
Damn.
jeez.
I
Like,
gotta
I
get
was,
that.
I was like,
I
sick.
found him.
I gotta get me one of them tapeworms. Can you give a person that can you buy a tapeworm? That seems like a fast way to lose some weight, right, Scout?
Yeah, you could do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think the tapeworm diet is really big in some places.
yeah.
No, you guys think that's a joke, but seriously, at one point in time they were selling diet pills where you saw this really large, like I'm not sure how big it is, but they literally put a tapeworm egg in there, a live worm, and then eventually, you're gonna poop out a worm, I guess. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, but
Hey,
that's
but
a
at
real
least you
thing.
got your beach body.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Right.
I mean, if I want to, do my laundry on my washboard,
On your
Yes,
washboard
sir.
abs.
Yes, sir.
There you go. There you go.
I mean, you got it right. All right. Yep. It's been good. I'm living again. I'm gonna live. I have a second chance at life, Billy, and I was like, well, that makes sense because I'm doing Inglorious Rex too.
Nice.
Nice.
And you're taking it to the bank, brother. You are kicking ass.
Hey, I am. A huge whopping. What is it at? Like, let me see.
132.
132. $464.
Bam.
1,180 backers, and we have 20 days left on the first 30. So it is a monster of a campaign, no pun intended. About a book about monsters punching.
10 days. 10 days. That's
crazy.
Yeah.
wonderful. Great.
Yeah,
Good for you guys. Well deserved, guys. Well
Yeah,
deserved.
monster wrestling is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a bit. It's weird because a lot of people were shocked by the content of the book once they read it. So I really didn't tell everybody the concept when I was selling it. So you keep some things and close to the chest. So when you want your readers to be surprised and engaged with the world you built. So I've been getting a lot of good feedback. Which is great because it's a new number one, right? Like you don't know what people are gonna think. You know what you think. You know what people think about your past books, but it's still a new concept, a new book I'm putting out into the world. You always worry a little bit, and you want to give yourself enough room that you can kind of maneuver, like in case somebody really hates an aspect of your book. You don't want to close it completely off. I want some avenues open to do different things in future books.
Yeah. I always said, I think I even said this when we had you on for the first book, is I've just been blown away by your character designs in this.
It's true.
Like, it's just like crazy. Like, how the hell did you think of that?
All right. So first off, the female Rex there, Razor, she's based off of like I'm never gonna say that like what I'm not inspired by, and that's my favorite Godzilla bad guy, and that's Gigan. He's like one of my favorite Toho monsters. So like a lot of her, like not her eyes, but kind of the beak aspect of her mouth and stuff is influenced by that character a lot. Gigan also kind of had a feminine aspect to it. I thought he had kind of like a buzzsaw belly, a beak, a cyclops laser eye, and like these hooks for hands. a lot of that's obviously not there, but like I still got that vibe down pat. It's weird too because people have been sending me this link where it's like Godzilla, like the new Godzilla fighting a new version of Gigan, and it's actually female and red now. Like it honestly looks like my version of this character. It's just like a weird coincidence because it's obviously made after this book. But with the main Rex 232, like I fumbled around with that character quite a bit. Like obviously like I wanted some colors moving around his body and stuff like that, but I designed a lot of these characters so they could evolve and change in design as I go further with them. So like like the tentacles that he's wearing and stuff, they can kind of grow a little bit, like if he mutates,
Mhm.
Is that only on my end?
Someone got their cell phone near a microphone or something?
I was muted, so it's not me.
It's not me.
It's Billy.
He said no, it's not.
I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, it wasn't me. I got nothing.
I got nothing either. Now
nothing.
it went away.
Bro, that was crazy.
That was crazy.
That's
They were
the
tapping
government.
in.
Dude,
The
the
government
CIA
was
is
tapping
happening.
in.
That's the
It's the
shadow
government, man.
No, it was they were trying to learn more about his design so they could start copying and updating
Right.
their characters. That's what was going on.
Oh,
Well,
man.
Tapping
You
in.
know it.
no bullshit. Like, I really do want like to see this character kind of morph and grow like a couple of books down the road. Like because that's the concept of the book is they're fighting these monsters. Now I can talk a little bit more about the concept. They're fighting these monsters to push them to evolve and to be better protectors of the city. And also, like the basis of this concept for Inglorious Rex is like everybody's like, there's giant monsters attacking the city. Why not have giant robots with pilots? And I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense because robots break down. You need raw minerals. What would it make more sense to just clone the pilots? Because you can always have an immune system, in the giant thing rather than a robot, this giant clone. And then you just have to keep them in shape. You have to keep their motion, like their movements, their body movements, their range of motion and stuff. And I started to build this concept basically off of that it would make, life is cheap. Robots are expensive, so they would, this is what they would do. With that said, like, it also made sense that they would just be fighting these things, not just to keep them in shape, but just so they would actually progress their skill level or evolve in a sense. So like when designing him, kind of the top of his game one time, like he's supposed to be the King Rex, so like he's kind of already evolved, but I still want to see him like morph and grow a little bit. The one female Rex, Razor, in the book, she premieres like with a new evolution, and that was the tentacles coming off her back. It's a lot of fun, I think, building that into it, because I can always just, whatever new Rex I come up with, I can always just kind of either already have them at stage 3 evolution, or I can pull back and be like, show an evolution coming up, in a fight. But like, that's pretty much my game plan for the book, as far as concept goes.
Nice. So like for their evolution, everything so it's like a physical manifestation based on like adrenaline or something, as they're fighting and stuff. How can you talk about how they can evolve?
So yeah, so like I've done Muay Thai since like 2010. And there's things like shin conditioning and bone conditioning that eventually happens that allows you to kick super hard or kick through something or block kicks that don't like really, and it's like micro fractures.
Mm-hmm.
So some of it's like power levels, like in the actual sport of Rex fighting, they build up kinetic energy. And in the final 5th round, if the Rexes make it to that round, they basically they're able to unlock a power punch, and they have one punch to see who has the strongest like power level, like a giant Iron Fist punch or something like that and whoever dominates. So there's different levels of evolution. It can be physical, like in the case of Razor with the tentacles, or it could just be like they're able to hold a bigger charge for a kinetic punch or a kinetic attack. In the world of my book, like things like giant munition guns, like you see like Gundams and stuff, where they have like these giant cannons or the giant Gatling guns, those type of physics don't really work. It's all physical. So when they have to protect a city, it's like whatever these Rexes can do. Why they're cloned from humans is because it's a protocol to safeguard the city, that they're very passive. Like I have this concept that they have an aggression protocol that it takes a human pilot being locked into to unlock. It's a safeguard to make sure that they never attack the city they're built to protect. Like really cool. I really thought like a lot of this stuff out.
Yeah. Are they built to protect, or they've been raised or grown?
They've been grown. They're not built. They're like genetic cloned things based off the DNA of fighters. So like basically why they cloned them off of fighters is for their fighting skills. So like if a fighter knows how to throw a kick, the Rex knows how to throw a kick. You know, it's all like, and they have to, and again, like you see these cables coming off of them, that in the suits the pilots wear, that's called the lace suit. The lace suit basically laces the pilot's neural system up with the Rex's neural system, and that's why they're cloned off a pilot. Is they get they have a quicker response time. You know, response time, could make all the difference in landing a punch or getting punched. So, like, again, that's why they practice the sport and they keep it going. The main protagonist of all these rules, though, is Alex Stone, the pilot of the big purple Rex 232, this guy. And he pilots this Rex isn't based off of his DNA. It's based off, like, this is his late brother's Rex.
Right.
He's piloting, so like there is like a feedback problem. They don't actually really connect. And then Inglorious Rex 1, you basically see him being baited into taking a fight, a rematch on a very controversial fight that his brother lost and died in. And a lot of people of Arc City don't actually accept the winner of that fight. And that's actually based off of Tyson and what was it? The guy
Buster Douglas.
No, the guy he bit his ear.
Holyfield.
Holyfield, because Holyfield wasn't really accepted as like a champion because he never fought Tyson. You know, at least according to him, he never felt like people accepted him because Tyson was in jail during that time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, so that was kind of like inspiration for this concept that we're going to step into this. In Rex 1, we step in this world where, Rex 232's pilot's been killed in a fight. A lot of people in the city don't really accept the bad guy Rune, the guy with the mohawk, as the champion. And the morale of the city is a really big factor in the world of Rex. That on top of everything, it's very important that they keep the citizens' morale, a lot like in Rome with gladiators fighting, kind of up, because they actually live in big poverty levels and stuff like that, and they're always under attack, this city. So it was like that I basically built this crazy concept, not too crazy, but a little crazy, and then I basically handicapped my main character in the concept. So his connection with Rex 232 isn't great at all. Like, and if you look at issue 1, like he basically gets his butt beat for the whole fight, without spoiling the book, I mean that I really wanted that type of conflict with our main protagonist, where he's always like a little handicapped and compared to everybody else, and there's the connection between 232, because he's based off his brother's DNA and his late brother, that there's a little bit of a connection between the two.
Yeah, so let me answer about that, and without giving too much away, and tell me if we are, because again, the Rexes are they're living creatures,
right?
And you say that there's a connection between 232 and your star, your protagonist. There's not a real great connection because 232 is based off his brother's DNA.
Right.
And now, do they share, dare I say, not just a physical connection, but is there also like an emotional connection? Because it's almost like they're children in a way, right? Wouldn't you say so? I mean, do they have a conscious,
well, and
the
that was,
Rexes I'm talking about?
Yeah, that was part of the deal when Alex takes this fight from Little T when he pushes him into it, is because like to him it's to his family or his dad, who's still like the kind of keeper of 232 and stuff, is like 232 is like the last thing they have of Nate Stone, which was like the star fighter of the city, the protector of the city, and all of this, and meant so much to the city. But he dies from an illegal blow to the cockpit in the back, like from the bad guy. I mean, it's a controversial win. Some people would say that Rune didn't win the fight because it was an illegal blow, kind of like a shot to the back of a head, in boxing. But yeah, so there is a connection that, but it also, he represents kind of like the legacy of the family in a way. And where we come in Rex 1 is 232 has like been basically allowed to live, but as a sparring Rex, even though he doesn't have his pilot anymore. Most of the time, the Rexes die, not the pilots. In this case with 232, it's the pilot that died, but he's still alive. So they basically decommission him into like what is considered a sparring Rex, which basically means other Rexes just beat up on him all the time before, just for practice. And, it's an underdog story. Not just for him, but a redemption story. It's a family story. His dad doesn't want him to take the fight because he's already lost one son. Alex is, wanting to avenge his brother in this fight, but it's also, it's like Rex 232. If he doesn't take the fight, he's going to be decommissioned and basically ground up for food for other Rexes. So if he takes the fight, if he takes the fight, he knows he's probably going to lose, but like Little T says, he'll at least go out doing what he was built to do, and that's fighting. So it's kind of like Alex takes the fight, and Alex is a very important character because I really wrote him as a bullheaded, stubborn type fighter. We start off with the book just with him kickboxing. And I really wanted that, like, not arrogant, but very just stubborn. Like his dad's very concerned. It's a very interesting dynamic because there's a line in the book where his dad says, he's talking about dropping his hand to generate more power. If he dropped his guard, he can throw a harder cross. And this is like the night before. And his dad basically says, you have this wrong. I just need you to keep your hands up. He's like, I'm not here to corner you to help you win the fight. I'm here to get you through it. So there's this weird dynamic where his dad really doesn't believe in him. See, their family dynamic was before his brother passed was, he was just a little brother. Maybe one day he would be a Rex pilot too. His dad was the trainer. That was their family dynamic. And 232 was just the family's, their prize racehorse, whatever you want to call it, Rex, and, that's where the family is. And they go into this fight very torn. And in a way, like it's a family story that they kind of come out of this fight with more of a connection than they knew they had, so without giving too much away about the story. Rex 2, though, is completely different. It's going to explore what's the threat outside the city, why they even do all this, why they even make Rexes, why they built these things. So, I always built this as like kind of like a 2 concept, or a bigger concept project. Like, I thought that's a lot to hand somebody in the first book.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, that is a lot.
No, it is a lot. So if you'll notice, like I start the book off with Alex fighting, just a normal boxing fight, and then I introduce like Anatomic, who's his girlfriend, who she's going into a fight with her Rex. And then from there, I throw the concept of here's your complicated fight you're going to take. And And then book 2 is like, okay, this is what's really going on, you know? So like, a lot of people would have, there's 2 ways I could have done it. I could have just done like very heavy, I don't know, what do you call it, exposition at the beginning of a book, and just say this, this, and this, and this, kind of like at the beginning of a Star Wars film.
Mm-hmm.
And then just jump into where I wanted to be, like, which is book 2 or 3. But I really wanted to build characters up and really wanted to get people emotionally involved, and really just start taking this big world that is Rex and just start peeling it like an onion, piece by piece, and and let you see what's all there, like little by little. And some people, I don't know if that's the normal way of doing storytelling. I mean, it is a way, but it's kind of like, I don't know what you would call it. Because I'm trying to ground it first before I get so big.
But that's cool. And this is the cool thing about being an independent publisher. You can do whatever you want.
Right.
You know, I mean, you don't have to have, from the very beginning, like you jump right into the action. You give, like you said, you give a little backstory, and then you jump right into the action. And you were talking about Star Wars, and it opens up with the blockade runner being chased down by the Star Destroyer.
Right.
Going right into action. And people like that. You don't always need that slow burn, to tell the story. From the very beginning, I did that with She as well. We launched into She. I didn't tell the whole story from when she was a child and growing up, and and how she trained and where she got. I jumped right into the action, and people seem to like it. It's good to change things up. You don't always necessarily need that Superman. A rocket comes hurling from outer space.
Well, I think the first story page panel was like Alex getting punched in the face. Like, that's how I opened it. I opened a Superman Batman issue that way, with Metallo getting punched in the face and his face ripping off by Superman. Nice. And I always liked that panel. I was like, that is the coolest opening panel I've ever drawn in a comic. It's just somebody getting his face ripped off. But I wanted to start in action. And I mean, because it is a fighting book, but that's in the spirit of the bigger concept is, what are they fighting for? And it's a fight within a bigger fight. Like at first it just seems like, oh, this is a sport and they're doing this. But what if like the gladiators in the Rome were actually fighting to protect the city? And that's kind of like what I'm doing here. Like, what if they were not just fighting for entertainment, but something bigger, so like like they're fighting an extinction level event type thing. Sorry, I'm getting choked up a little bit.
Hey, Shane, you talk about like the various levels of evolution. Is the Razor Rex, is she more evolutionary advanced than 232?
Yeah, I'll show you like a page from the book that explains it, because she pops out. You have to go full screen on me here. So when she pops out, she has like these tentacles on her back that nobody's ever seen before, right? So the tentacles whipping around here, and when she actually engages them in the fight, like they kind of stab into this monster's leg, and they jack its leg all up there. You see, like badass. It's all swollen and stuff, so then it can't move, and then she like kicks its head off. So they kind of can come up with
that's fair.
Well, no, but that it was, well, I mean, you're like, that's fair. But I mean, it's stuff like that the evolutions, like she didn't have the tentacles before she took this one fight. She went into this fight with these harpoons that had just grown on her, like that the other Rex didn't know anything about. So it's stuff like that I can do with them later on. The only thing I've been like wary about is like just having a Rex with like 4 arms. Because in the end, I'm still having them punch and kick and do things that like I kind of have an understanding of how to draw. The minute you start messing with the anatomy of these things, like it really starts to make their motions a little bit more complicated.
Well, there's like 2 things. Number one, I think it's great not coming in with the the full origin, showing them growing up and stuff. The same like when Billy said with she. The reason that that's so important is because you don't know their limitations. Like when you watch them grow up, you know where their limitations are. So when you get to see it, as an adult or when you're first introducing them and they already have the skills, you don't know what they all are. So you're learning them at the same time everybody else is learning that doesn't know the origin stories behind it. And I think that's one of the cool things about this. And the other really awesome deal is, you do have all the different evolutions, and they are able to upgrade and become bigger and better. But the reality is the sky's the limit on that evolution. Like there's no cap. Like the cap is just what you can come up with in your brain,
Yeah.
So I mean, there's always going to be something new for people to see that's unexpected. So it's like it's always going to be fresh because there's going to be something new every time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with it. Like I look at things like there was a couple of characters. One was Spawn. McFarlane was constantly kind of nipping and tucking and changing Spawn's design back in the day, but it was also
don't get me started with the hourglass.
Yeah, that whole but also Dragon Ball, like Goku from Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
So I kind of like, I don't know, like I have a concept I don't want to say, but like there's even more to the evolution like outside the walls type thing that I'll do later on in the book. But again, like book 2 now that we've established with book 1, like Alex's compromise with Rex 232, his relationship with Anatomic, because that's basically what happens with Rex 232 and Alex, him taking this fight and reclaiming the crown, so to speak, because he's like King Rex. Basically, it's going to pit him and his ex Anatomic up against one another. And that's the dynamic of that I kind of built into Rex 1 with them, is their love dynamic, that they would eventually become, they would have to compete against one another. And or one's going to have to choose to back down. And the fight, a lot of this book 1 is really built up to this one big fight between these two, but their fight's so big it's going to spill outside the city. It's not, I mean, this book is going to be absolutely insane because it's going to go into the outside world, with buildings, with other monsters and things like that. So it's book 2 is going to look completely different in a lot of ways than book 1 was.
Well, I mean,
now do these Rexes? Oh, sorry, Blitz. Do these Rexes have their own consciousness? Because they're cloned from humans. So do they actually have a similar consciousness or thinking process as their human counterpart?
Yanzi, you want to navigate that?
Well, I mean, they do clone it from the human being, so there's consciousness in the sense that they connect better with their human counterpart. So that's why Alex has trouble connecting with 232, because it's not really his consciousness in a way that's built into the Rex's DNA. That's kind of a way I can put it, I guess. I mean, there's a bit of a spoiler too that we can't really say exactly what the consciousness entails, but yeah, the evolution also kind of explains it. Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing with the consciousness is and why it's so important that the pilot's kind of part of this whole setup is the aggression protocol. Like they really can't turn on and be violent on their own. So they're kind of like dumb beast. Like Alex has a connection between 232, and there's a memory between them just because he remembers him being in the gym or in the Rex back room or whatever with his brother when his brother was the pilot. So I mean, they do have like I don't know, I don't want to say they're kind of slow, but they're just very passive up until the pilot that's laced up and locks in with them, they unlock the aggression protocol, so and that usually is only in the unlocked, or they have permission to unlock in the cage. Like they can't just get outside the city and just tear the city up. Like they have to have a pilot. That's the fail safe. That's the fail safe for the city, that these things can't ever become a threat.
But there could be like an evil pilot.
There could be an evil pilot, but that's again like I can't remember the name of this book off the top of my head, but something to sunrise or something. There was this story about it's about fight camps, a fight prison in Thailand. In Thailand, Muay Thai is really big, and the prisons, of course, it's a poor country, but they'll end up like running fight camps or fight leagues in prison, and the prisoners will fight for better quarters, better living quarters, and better food. So that, and they'll get to travel outside the prison to go to other prisons to fight, and they might have a chance to see their family more by venturing out, to fight at another prison. And they may actually get a shorter sentence. And I kind of was inspired by that. And this is a real thing that happens in Thailand. And there was actually a true story about a guy that was from England that got caught up in one of these Thai prisons, and he ended up fighting. He got out, of course, his country got him out, but and I was inspired by that. So the pilots, there's a reason to be a Rex pilot. And again, like I actually avoid a lot of showing the city, Arc City, in this book, and I focus mainly on Alex and Little T and just the whole economy of fighting. But the actual city is very poverty stricken, so like there's a reason to be a Rex pilot, not just to protect the city, but a higher standard of quality in life. So those are things I'm going to explore more in book 2, of course. It's a really complicated concept the more I talk about it. That's why in the book I boil it down and keep it super simple. Like I don't really go into a lot of this. And a lot of people are wanting, they after reading this are like, I want to know more about this world. And it's like, that's book 2. And that's the weird thing about this is, this starts off with like Alex, being offered this fight. They're going to kill Rex 232 if he doesn't take the fight. Either way, he's going to die, but at least he has a chance in the ring, and he gets a rematch against the guy that killed his brother. It's too good to pass up, right? Nobody believes he'll win. And he's a little bit cocky and arrogant. And so he wants to avenge his brother. If not, he at least maybe got a couple of good hits in on the Rex that killed his brother. And, that's as simple as I kept this concept. But if I really wanted to go into it, there could be a prequel to this, just following his brother. What was the details behind the fight with the evil Rex that he was pitted up against Rune. So it's when I try to make a comic, I really like the concept of world building where there's not just the story I'm telling, but there's actually the story that came before and the story I'm going forward with.
Yeah, because it's probably not the evil Rex; it's the evil pilot.
Or the pilot was given a incentive, and there's a reason that the Rune or gun. There's a reason that happened. Maybe it was an accident, maybe it wasn't, but that's what tears the city apart. And they don't actually see Rune, and at least Rex 1, they don't see Rune or Gun as the true champion. The evil Rex, they see him is controversial. And that's a big part of just the morale of the city. The city, they need this hero. They need to believe in this hero, and they need to believe this hero will keep them alive another day. And then they end up with maybe a hero or a Rex King that maybe won by an illegal shot only. That doesn't help the morale of the city. So that was a bigger concept, and it'll be explored more in just Rex 2 in general.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm kind of curious, like when you talk about the cloning and everything, kind of like going with the whole idea of like what translates when you clone somebody. Like say that Anatomic had like an irrational fear of fire. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, without them neuro-linked together with with their Rex having a rational fear of fire as well, just inherently because of being cloned.
So going into the clone aspects is a little bit more complicated, and actually, hang on, and it's a big plot point.
Okay.
But yeah, there are some aspects of the pilot itself, like you're talking about like a natural phobia. Like, yeah, I might do something with that, but yeah, the actual cloning aspect is actually something I'm doing a lot with in Rex 2, and it's
Nice.
actually a bigger plot point.
awesome.
So yeah.
Well,
How many books are in
also-
this series that you have?
Well, I mean, the main story could easily be like 4 or 5 books in the bigger scale of things, and the more like people who've read book 1 kind of like you kind of see that at the end that there's a bigger thing happening here. And you can kind of, again, if you read book 1 and if you look at the cover to book 2, you know, Alex is holding the flag. That's kind of like the vibe going forward. I mean, it's really weird because I kind of build it and sold it, and it is you know, like a cage fighting monster thing, but that's just like the X-Men in the Danger Room. Like book 1, like them fighting in the cage for sport, that's just the X-Men training. Like the book 2 and book 3 and 4 is like a bigger, like this is what they're built, this is what they're training for. So you know, like without ruining, because again, like I mean, a lot of people have their books, but like a lot of people, I can't control when everybody reads book 1, you know, that's the thing.
Right.
So, but you know, I try to make everything futuristic, you know, like the cages are electric fence, you know, like the suits they wear are like, you know, I call them lace suits, like it like kind of like lacing up your gloves, like it's just lacing the neural systems together, you know. But in a sense, like the pilots are kind of just like jockeys on a racehorse. You know, they kind of fit in between. If you have full screen on this, this is like one of the minis that are in the
Subscription box.
subscription box that's been painted. But the minis have you can see the cockpit between these shoulder blades there. So like they're basically like jockeys on a horse for the most
That is so cool.
Yeah,
that
so
is
you can see little.
That is.
Alex.
I was
Are they
wondering
sitting?
actually how they
Yeah.
connected. Yeah.
What are the pilots? Are they sitting in a chair? The pilots?
It's kind of like I call it a cradle. It's kind of like a type of metal barrier. I don't know, like it has some metal guards that kind of come up around them. I kind of treat it kind of like a boxing headgear, where there's an opening in the front, and you see that little red and blue. That would be Alex there. And then there's some metal safeguards that are around. But that's, you know, but like but just like being on a horse, they have to like you have to be able to fall off a horse. That's why cowboy boots are loose, right? So you don't get drugged to death. So they have to be able to fall out, because if the Rex lands on that thing, they're dead.
Yeah.
You know, like
Damn.
so they're not actually in the Rex. They're kind of like there's the cradle kind of is sewn into like their spine, right between their shoulder blades. And but again, that's part of the idea of why it's controversial and for the bad guy Rex Rune in book 1 is like that was an illegal blow. That's the one place you don't punch a Rex, is the back cradle. So, and that's what he did. So, you know, his brother was basically crushed to death in this thing while he was still linked up to 232.
That's bad. How long did it take you to come up with this story? Because it's just so intricate in detail and design of this universe you built.
It's kind of hard to gauge because I basically build a decent foundation, and from there I start filling out all the technicals. And it's weird. I say I've been working on this for 10 years, but that's just because I either like was involved in kickboxing or like just the sport in general. So I really always wanted to work. Working at Marvel and DC for years, I've been trying to do like a fighting book, which I would get turned down constantly. I tried at DC Comics to get them to let me redo Wildcat, you know, the boxing character from JSA, and try to make some groundwork into like a MMA type new Wildcat or something like that, because UFC was getting so big. And then even at Marvel, I had a pitch for Iron Fist being in prison and having to like being framed for murder and being put in like their prison for all the supervillains, and having like an underground fighting league where he was going to have to compete in, like, you know, like I had all these pitches, and Marvel would be like, sign this paperwork, give us your pitch. And I was like, okay, do I get the job? And they just ghost me. So I just
They didn't just ghost you, right? The editor that you submitted a pitch to took the pitch to Zoop.
Yeah, he took like the pitch to Zoop. Once he got canned from Marvel. So like, I mean, I've been trying to make a fighting book in multiple ways, but I always wanted a concept. I didn't just want like, hey, I just want a book of people punching one another. And everybody's like, oh, you can't do that. Like with comics, we need talking heads, we need character moments and all of this. And I'm like, you can do all that and fight at the same time. You just have to build a reason for them to fight, or you have to build enough like I don't know, like with Alex, you know, like a lot of family stuff, you know, like I was like, this has to be able to be done. And the comic medium is a place to do it. Like, you know, this was an action adventure, boys entertainment medium at one point in time. And it should be still to this day, but it's kind of driven out a little bit. And I'm like, no, let's put the tea back in it. You know, let's get that high tea. You know, and again, it's very obvious. I'm inspired by a lot of Kermit monsters. Like they're all like giant monsters with shorts on. Punch. I mean, it's like it's that type of basic, fun comic stuff. Like, you know how it used to be fun to see Juggernaut and Hulk punch one another. Did I care? Like, was it? You know, did I care if they were like drinking coffee and talking about their feelings afterwards? No, it was just fun to watch them punch one another. You know, it's that type of comic, at least visually, I wanted to pull people in on and have that fun. Like, here comes the Wendigo running up against the Hulk, and there's Wolverine in between. You know, that type of fun, visual. But I also wanted a lot of heart, a lot of family story and conflict, and an underdog story. You know, I really wanted this to be like the biggest underdog story. You know, which, in a way, some people would say is cliche, but at the same time, I think for people who've read the book, you'll see I came up with a very unique twist with a touching heart type situation in it, and that will be explored a lot further. You know,
yeah. Man, I have a couple questions. So first off, you mentioned Dragon Ball Z, so obviously, you know, in order to keep things fresh, there's going to eventually be a power creep. I mean, obviously, I would assume there's a huge power creep from book one to what we see here, just based off evolution, the way are based off what you were talking about when they come back. Like, since you mentioned Dragon Ball, I'm just going to ask in Dragon Ball speak. So, you know, it was really cool, like when there was a bad guy. You know, Goku was able to go Super Saiyan. Then there was Super Saiyan 2, 3, and then 4, and the Dragon Fist. And then they went to, you know, to God, and then Ultra Instinct. Like, do you already have in your mind, like, where the cap of that is going to be?
I have an idea of the cap before the cap. Because there's something, if I say it, it'll be like, oh, I see that. Yeah. It's like I'm trying not to say it, but there is like something that happens with them on the outside of the city that's visually completely different. That I haven't really shown anybody. Nice. And I'm not even sure if it'll show up in book 2 or if it'll show up in book 3. But yeah, I have, and they are designed that way. They are designed where I can add or take away things. Well, not so much take away, but I can add things to them as they are designed. Because for the most part, they're kind of basic, like humanoid shapes. You know, like I maybe have a unique silhouette. But again, like it might just be that they just hit harder as part of their you know, their evolution, or they're just a little bit more durable, you know, or they physically may grow something out of their body, like with her tentacles or harpoons or stingers, whatever you want to call them, like, you know, that was completely in the, at least to everybody watching in the book, that was something that they had never seen before. You know, they never seen a Rex do that. So like, I like keeping that possibility open, because I might come up with an idea like 2 years from now, and I'm like, that's a cool evolution. I should do that. You know, maybe this Rex should have wings and he should fly. You know, I don't know. I might just come up with something. Might want to grow a tail, or I don't know, something.
Well, the other question I have is kind of a campaign question. Now,
Yep.
you're in case anybody doesn't know, like you're one of the Comicsgate kings. I mean, you're one of the kings. You're part of the group to help. You know, that's at the upper tier of everything. Now, a little over a year ago, Dale Keown came onto the scene, and he came into Comicsgate. And you know, you have a cover. EVS has had covers. I mean, it was really impressive, because like when you look all the way back at the Image world, like, you know, right after the main 7 came in, you end up having Sam Keith, and you ended up having Dale Keown come in with their books respectively, Max and Pitt, and they were huge at the time. You know, he just came over from Incredible Hulk, which is a big guy, which fits perfectly into what you have here. My question is how much of an impact do you think that Dale Keown and him doing covers has had on all of these new, you know, this new, say, season of books that have been brought on? I mean, like, I think it's incredible you got a Dale Keown cover. I mean, like, just saying Dale Keown cover is something that hasn't really even been on anybody's brainwaves. Like, it wasn't even on the spectrum over a year ago. And now, like, you know, we are seeing these covers that add just like a whole brand new look to everything. So how big of an impact do you think that has been, not only on the campaigns, but the whole idea of Comicsgate as a whole?
I think, like, for our campaign, I mean, it's fairly new. Of course, there's brought some attention to it, but it seemed like a lot of people that like Dale already knew about the campaign. So I don't know if it's bringing in like a lot of new eyes. I think if anything, it just kind of endorses a certain type of like thing I was doing. At first, Dale told me no, he couldn't do a cover, and I was like, okay. And then Dale just sent me a sketch, and I was like, oh, you are doing it. He's like, yeah, I'm doing it. Yeah, and basically it came down to Dale just wanted to draw the characters, and he even drew like my character a little bit. The build is a little bit different than I draw him at. Like, but I was just happy to get Dale to do it. I didn't really care how he drew him. So I first, for me, it's great that I got Dale cover. But Dale just basically did it because he wanted to do it. I don't think Dale would have done it if he was like, I don't like, you know, I don't like the look of this character. I mean, Dale kind of does what Dale wants to do. You know, that's Dale. I think I think there's a big gravitas, you know, to Dale doing covers within Comicsgate and stuff. Look, Dale's a legend, you know, especially to a certain era of people. I mean, a lot of people remember Pitt. I wish Pitt was out more. I know he's doing some stuff with Mandy Summers where there's Pitt on a cover here or there, but I really wish Pitt like was in print, like a nice omnibus or something like that, because it's a work of art. Like, you know, like it's I think it's a little bit of a crime considering the comics that people are buying today. You know, I'm going backwards and I'm reading, like, I'm buying up like Marvel's reprinting all these omnibus now, and that's a lot of what I'm spending my comic money on that I used to buy. And it's like we're in like a weird vicious cycle now with the new comics we put out that I'm buying backwards, not forwards. And I hope like the people that are in my spot are actually, you know, like, hey, there's a Dale Keown cover. Hey, look, Shane Davis is really trying to make a solid effort at trying to make a evergreen comic. And that's something that nobody's doing right now in Marvel and DC. I mean, they're putting out that Mark Silvestri book right now, but I mean, that's been worked on forever. And that's
Like
not
7
taking
years.
anything away from it, but I'm saying the management that's there today never greenlit that book. You know, like, so it's you know, that was formed in a different era of DC. The DC comics running and operating today, I don't know if they're putting a full effort on making an evergreen title. You know, and it's a shame too with the collected editions. It's like you should be making books that stand the test of time. I mean, that's your pasture. That's when you go out. This is a book, and everybody should be striving to hit that bookshelf. And I just don't see it. And I hope that the Dale cover is like a lightning rod, so to speak, to a customer. Like, hey, you know, here we're planting the flag over here. Like, we still care about comics. We still care about the quality of comics. That's what I hope. Does that have that effect? I don't know. I'm not the customer. I'm just a creator. I would have to go ask my customers if it has that effect.
Well, you could do that. I mean, the point is someone like Gail can reach a bigger audience, bring in an audience that might not necessarily want to check out some books or not know certain creators. You'd mentioned Mandy. You know, Mandy's a relatively new creator. You know? And I mean, she started with, you know, her first comic was telling the story that she would tell her daughter. You know, it's almost like a Princess Bride, you know, scenario. And now look at her; she's just exploded. But the people are catching on, because even with us, we are on. You know, we offered 400 omnibuses through Diamond for the month of December, and we sold all 400 of them out.
That's right. That's right.
Boom.
That is right.
First order. Now, I'm sure there's a few overs in there. You know, I'm sure there's a few overs in there, but damn, you know, and that's $100 book.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, I and like you said, I think that Dale should do, and I know that there's been a lot of talk about that. Ethan wants to do it. Do that pit omnibus, you know, through all caps, and forget it. It'd be huge.
Yeah,
huge.
No, it would be huge. It would be huge. I mean, I just feel honored that we have this treasure that is Dale Keown, and that he's graced us with any type of work whatsoever. I know he was doing some stuff at Marvel before, like covers mainly here or there, but that's kind of what's sad too. And it's like, I don't know, like, I think he did some interiors, but it's like, I don't know. It's Dale Keown. Just tell him, just say, hey, I need, 40 pages of Hulk punching Wendigo. Just sit down and do it. I just
got it.
It's that simple. I mean, and that's what's crazy about the American comic book industry. Can you imagine Dale Keown giving 4 issues of Hulk versus Thing, and just like, would that not sell like overnight? Like, I mean, like, that's all you want, right? It's like just two guys punching one another and Dale Keown drawing it.
You can complain that it's so 90s. Oh, look at all the violence.
Well, that was the thing that happened about, like, what was that, Billy, like 10, 20 years ago? They were like, oh, that's 90s. Oh, that's 90s.
Yeah, they bring that stuff up all the time. It's amazing. Jim Lee still draws like he drew in the 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, he's about good stuff. Kevin Nowlin still draws like he drew in the 90s.
Yeah.
J. Scott Campbell does not draw like he did in the 90s.
Who?
Yeah, J.
Scott Campbell.
Yeah.
He does not draw like he did in the 90s. That dude is on another level.
It's weird too. I like the Kuberts a lot. And they kind of don't draw like they used to in the 90s, because I've actually been looking back at some of their old Ghost Rider work and stuff. So some people did change from the 90s. They did kind of change their style a bit. But I think in the 90s, everybody was really caught up on like Art Adams style. Like, were inspired by that, and John Byrne. I mean, the 90s was coming off the fumes of the 80s. So you gotta, and that's what's depressing right now, is because this era of comics is not, that I'm talking the mainstream, is not going to impress or inspire anybody the next era.
No, they'll all be forgotten. As you said, you find yourself reading older books. Dan DiDio was lamenting at one of the Diamond retailer conferences a few years ago that the reprints of the older books and their showcases or whatever, that's DC, they were outselling the new books.
True.
Yeah. And
he should have been able to answer his own question as to why, right then and there.
Yeah, they call those facsimile editions, where they reprint the single issue. Yeah, I was standing in a comic shop, and a guy came in for, I think it was it the Venom's first appearance, maybe, And you were there, Yanzi, and the guy was complaining that it costs more today than when he originally bought it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that book was only $1, right? It was $1 or $1.25.
Back in the day, and Marvel printed it. It was like $3.50, and he's like, and he only came in for that one issue. And did he buy it or did he not buy it? I can't remember.
Can't remember. Come on, that was so long ago.
Yeah, but the retailer's like, well, that's the price they printed on it. It's not that day. But it was weird that this guy just came out into this comic shop for this one book that they decided to reprint. And it's like, that was evidence to me that we really, in the American comic book industry, lost people. Like, and again, that was probably like maybe 4 years ago, maybe 3 years ago.
Probably closer to 3.
3 years ago. And I was like, holy shit, like, I don't know if we're going to bring this back up. Like, I don't know where do you start? Like, how do you get these people back? And people, and the other thing about this situation with the comic, a lot of the mainstream comics we're doing today is it's all supposed to, whether they're bad decisions or good decisions, and quite frankly, they're mainly bad decisions, it's all for the purpose of a new audience. How long do they do that and not get a return on that?
Yeah.
You know, how many years do you invest in pursuing and destroying like mainstream comics in search of a new audience, and you never get a return, but you just double, quadruple down on it, and it's weird. I understand how the mainstream works. Like, they only have the profits from the previous issues to tie up in talent. So that, this causes a lot of people's rates to go down, production costs go down, what they can spend on paper goes down, all of this. So it's all like a downwards trajectory. And, like it's like, I don't mean to say it so grim, but it's like, there was this concept that these big studios that keep buying up these companies are just going to inject cash into the comics division. And I don't know if that's true.
No, they're not.
No,
they're not. They're not injecting anything. And what I'd love to see, and I remember one time I posted on Twitter, it's probably like, a year and a half ago, or to Jim Lee and Joe Quesada at the time, I said, I just want to see a challenge. Just do one book each and bring back, these blacklisted creators or whatever, and see what your sales are. Because, I mean, we'll just use this as a quick example because it's easy. If DC said, okay, we got Chuck Dixon and Graham Nolan on a new Batman book, what would that bring in? I would love to see it.
Hang on. That did happen, though. They did bring Chuck Dixon and Graham in for some Bane book, and it was like a miniseries, and the first issue sold out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, was it ordered high? It doesn't matter. It went into stores, and they sold out. And I don't want to speak on Graham's behalf, but I think it's been said publicly. It was like DC was just trying to pay him back for some Bane money, him and Chuck.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah. They're throwing him a bone.
And
the best part, and just how insulting in a way. Here, instead of the money that we owe you for co-creating this character that starred in a film that grossed $1 billion, we're going to throw you a couple $100 a page.
We'll give you a job,
creators to work for us.
Yeah, we'll let you work it back.
We'll let you work it back, so we won't pay you royalties again for the money that we'll owe you on the success you breed the second time around.
But to that point you were making there, Nile, is it the first issue like flew off the shelf. Yeah. And that was Bane.
How long ago?
I think
How long
Bane
ago was
Conquest. I think Bane Conquest was the name of the series.
Yeah,
I'd have to pull it up, but the first issue did. I remember seeing it sold out, and it was like, well, why don't you guys give these guys more work? Why don't you do more with these guys? Like you would just think, like why not? But maybe it's politics. Maybe it's just it costs more to hire Graham Nolan than the kid from CalArt. I don't know. There's a lot of factors there. I did a video the other day on YouTube about sort of that effect, that like why they're like, I'm buying some of these omnibus because it's cheaper to find these Art Adams annuals X-Men books in them than it is the single issues, and they're nicer collections. But at the same time, why don't they just give me another Art Adams miniseries? And it's like it's a very I don't think they have the capital to put forward in publishing. There was like that Alex Ross Fantastic Four book that they recently did. The graphic
Fantastic
novel.
Four Circle Chase or the Full Circle.
I swear, I thought you almost said Circle Jerk. I was like,
Oh my
I was
god!
going to say, I had Circle
that's-
Chase stuck in my head
that's
because
it.
of Deadpool.
That's how we
Yeah.
end the show. That's
Full
our
circle, yeah.
ending.
So,
Fade
like,
black,
and
fade
here's
black.
yeah, so that book was co-opted with another publisher. Like somebody else put money into that, and then they have a new Fantastic Four #1 coming out. I think it came out this month with an Alex Ross cover, and then creators I don't care about.
Right.
Like that. So you can see Marvel. Like obviously, Marvel doesn't have the capital to put in. Alex Ross book was like one of the top selling graphic novels, I think, on Amazon.
It was.
Or American Comics, and
But it was
it's
also
like
sold at 50% of the cover price though on Amazon.
right. Well, I mean, they shouldn't have done that, but I mean, it got out there. I mean,
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. It sold. Did it sell at 50%?
Yeah, it definitely did. I only know because I bought one.
Oh,
So
I'm
dang.
sure it wasn't a glitch.
Yeah, no, it
Because
definitely
I
was not
paid
a
full
glitch.
price for mine. I'm gonna be upset. Like
Yeah.
I'm about to get mad.
Well,
Don't look it up. Don't look it up.
bro. Don't shoot the messenger. You know, the crazy thing about it is the thing that I just don't understand is as they continue to move forward and hitting these, you know, record numbers of, you know, money for movies and streaming services and everything, when it comes to comics, they do just continue to drop the value down and down on what they pay their artists, what they pay their writers, what they pay the inkers, letters, colorists, all this stuff. They continue to drop it down, and you know they get this property that they use one time. None of these companies care about the secondary market or even the third evolution of where the items go. Like they don't care about the outside value. They care about the money now. But when they pay them this extremely low price per page to do all these items, like they get the one book out of it, right? But then eventually they end up doing the trade paperback, and then they end up doing a hardcover, and then like they end up doing a direct edition book or a director's cut where they reprint the one issue. You know, I mean, it's like they get 4, 5, 6 times the use out of it, but they still only really pay them for that. You know, pay them, you know, not even a reasonable sum, not even a living wage for what they did with the one book. You know,
Yeah,
scraps for using it later.
It's kind of weird. Like I remember I was talking to Jim Starlin, because I was working with him on Mysteries in Space, and I would end up either, I don't know how it was, our editor would get us together and we would end up talking, but I would end up over time just hearing stories, right? And like older, you know, comic stories that aren't all that well documented. And he was telling me how he was on the there was a board of writers whenever they were trying to come up with the royalty system for collected editions, right? And then he was like, those are the same royalty system. I'm quoting Jim Starlin, that those are the same royalties that were built for the death of Captain Marvel, because Marvel had to come up with a way to pay somebody a royalty based off a book not being on the rack for 1 month and leaving. And that, you know, those they were bigger comics. If you remember the death of Captain Marvel, it was like more of it was a different shape. I don't know how many Marvel did of those, because I only remember that one. I think I saw a Magnola one time with Doctor Strange and Doctor Doom and
really
some other character. I think they did a few.
Cover?
I think they did a few, is my point, because it was an odd shape for a comic, and they didn't fit on like the spinner racks at all and stuff. But that he always said that the royalties we were getting at Marvel and DC for graphic novels were the same as that. I don't know. It's weird. Like even if they had a reprint royalty, nobody ever really knew like that there would be a trade market. I mean, I remember working in comics when the trade market exploded. It was the same time Amazon was exploding, and then the second Marvel and DC went all in on graphic novel or just collected editions, you know, collecting runs, like every story arc became a 6-issue story arc, and I was doing fill-ins a lot at DC and Marvel, like one-off issues, And one day they were like, we're not doing fill-ins anymore. It's going to be hard for you. And I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, well, you either have to be a good artist that we can hire for 6 issues or 5 issues straight, or you basically have to wait for somebody to fuck up, you know, like that was pretty much it. And I was like, okay, well, can I get a mini series like that? It's like, I don't, you know, it was like a weird issue, because they basically took comics and they reformatted the way they were doing comics to be graphic novels. So you could used to get like a 2-issue Spider-Man story, you know, where Spider-Man fights Doctor Doom for 2 issues. I don't know if that was spectacular, amazing Spider-Man. I remember Eric Larson drawing it in the 90s. I would buy something like that, but today that would be, at that time anyways, would be a 5-issue, 6-issue story arc with the ideas of collecting. Now, what's interesting is when they first started that initiative, they were really looking for talent. They were going after novelists. You know, Marvel and DC both were going after Stephen King, looking for that type of name or clout, Brad Meltzer, anybody with any type of clout in the pro book world, because they thought that would boost orders, because now Barnes & Noble and Borders were ordering graphic novels. And it was just weird one day just to see the hiring practices change like that, you know, and then to see it where it is now, where they don't care. It's almost like they take the graphic novel and the trades for granted, and they don't care if it's a solid run, or they don't care if it's a good story. And it's ironic in the end, because manga's kicking our ass, because they do care about the consistency and the quality of story, whereas we got complacent and just assumed those sales would just happen, and the product is crap and nobody's buying it. And I don't know if anybody else sees it that way. Like I was kind of like boots on the ground looking for work, and editors were talking to me in a way like I was nobody, like anything they said wouldn't get around. You know, they were probably saying things. I mean, I was at DC Comics looking for work, and I saw somebody come in, like, I'm not going to say their name, a lawyer at DC, wanting to know if they can give equity for Hush to Jim Lee. Are you sure it's not another character? Are you sure? Like, I would see shit like that. Like, you know, like people making big business decisions on granting equity or some type of royalty to Jim for a character he created. It's weird. It's weird because there you can tell like people gave up like at some point in time, or took for granted something, and then somebody else just come in and dominate us in the field because they had a better ethic of product. Like, and it doesn't matter if you like manga, if you don't like the way it's drawn or whatever, but they have an ethic of the quality, of the integrity of the story, and it won over our customers. I mean, you know, that's kind of how I feel on that.
No, I agree 100% with you. You know, manga is definitely is just a storm that came through and kind of wiped out, you know, the domestic comic book industry. But they take great care and pride in what they do, and you know, they don't really give a shit about the outside or the thoughts. They just want to put out that product that their fans enjoy, and they continue to do that. But they also produce them in a different way too, because I think was it Kevin Van Hook that was telling us, Blevins, that like they treat it more like an animation studio, like how they do like the animation is how they do, you know, like the manga and stuff, you know.
Yeah, they have
creators get
people. They have people working on it in different stages. And I mean, it's always been that way though. A lot of manga artists came off of being assistants for another manga artist or something. And you know, whatnot. But I mean, in the end, I think if we as creator or we don't care, you have to care about the product you are creating to expect anybody else to care about it.
Yeah.
I mean, and I really don't see Marvel and DC caring about the products or the characters they have right now. Well, and I just think we see those returns. I mean, it was like the month of July, like over half of DC's books fell off the top 100.
Right.
Oh,
like over half. I mean, why? You know, I think we're getting ready to see a hard pivot back. Like they're going to try to get back into core DC fairly soon. But I don't know, man. There's some of those fans. It's like it's easier to keep a fan than it is to beg them to come back. You know,
No doubt.
it's
Well,
just-
because then the ones that complain is that 5% that wants it to be a certain way, and it's not like the true fans that want it to kind of go back to just the fun
Yeah,
escapism that
most
it
of the time
was.
they're not even the ones buying it.
So what happened? And you know this well as anyone, is that they listen to that 5% and they give them what they want.
the problem with mainstream pop culture characters like this is they'll have to go away for a while.
Yeah,
Like they'll have to go away for a while for you to have a nice rebound. Like if DC Comics tomorrow is like, we're gonna reboot Superman, he's gonna be bigger, badder than ever. It's like he needs to go away for a couple of years. Then you can reboot him and it'll matter.
God,
You know, like it.
well, they're already rebooting him now like that.
No, I
Like,
know
okay,
but that's gonna be
and
the
his
overall.
slogan's back and everything. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
no,
just
but
it's
that's going to be the overall failure. I think that's going to
Yeah,
happen.
I
is
agree.
because they can't let these characters go away forever. If they can't go up to Discovery and say, hey, you just bought us, but guess what? These characters are all elfed, and they need to go in a closet for about 2 years.
yeah,
And then we can do them right, and people will care. That they would be like, "You're fired." I bought Superman for Superman to sell. Like it's hard, but that's how Discovery ended up with these. I mean, it's mismanaged properties, and it's weird. I wish these characters all the luck in the world. I mean, but like the best thing for them in some cases, and I've said this before, is they need to get public domain.
Yeah.
They need, because at that point, if anybody could make a Superman book, the best Superman book would be the best Superman book that can be made. Period. And everything else would be a joke. Right now, they only, everybody's either doing a knockoff of Superman or something and trying to compete with it. It's like, I don't know. I'm not gonna, I'm actually trying not to do superhero books right now, purposely, because I it's so damaging. I mean, Billy, you've had great success with She, and I mean that's far from a superhero book,
Dude, I've been trying to get Billy to do a superhero book. Like I've been begging him. I'm like, come on, do a superhero book. He's like, shut up, Blevins. I was like, that's
There's enough
rude.
superhero books.
But man, I love what you just said, Shane, and like you are absolutely correct. Like they do need to go away to be missed.
Yeah.
Some would say though that the characters we have now are not the characters that the people want. So maybe we are missing them in a cerebral type of way. But I will tell you that it doesn't. I don't know how well that actually ends up translating, because when you look at Fantastic Four, like Fantastic Four was gone for a long, long time, like maybe even too long. And now that it's back, it's not really like people aren't as hyped as they probably should be. Like maybe when it gets closer to the time the movies come out,
hang on, Fantastic Four is a weird one, and I'd rather, that's the weird one. I would never use it metaphorically, because Fantastic Four has only been good with certain creators on it.
Agreed.
Historically, that title, as much as I love Fantastic Four, it takes like I was a big fan. The last recent run was Carlos Pacheco, the late, rest in peace.
Yeah.
I was just getting there.
yeah. But I'm saying like John Byrne's run on Fantastic Four, of course, Jack Kirby. I think Mark Millar and Hitch had a rant on it, and nobody cared. I mean, it's like it's not. Fantastic Four is a weird book. Like it can have hits and misses. Something like X-Men though is something that went away for a while, and then they came back with their own unique vision. And it's not what the X-Men fans were expecting, and they've had nothing but downward spiral in sales. I mean, it's like an unrecognizable IP at this point,
I know they're giving so Chris Claremont has kind of like put a challenge to Marvel, and he's getting Excalibur back, and he's going to pick it up where it left off. And I believe he has free reign with it, and he basically is gonna do this book. I don't know who's doing the art on the book, but he's gonna pick up where he left off, and basically kind of wants to show the higher ups at Marvel that, look, yes, I'm an aging writer. There's many aging writers out there, but our books will sell, and he's hoping that that's what it'll do, and he's gonna test that water. And I'm not sure when it's gonna come out, but he's bringing Excalibur back.
So that whole concept that a talent's too old to sell books is so stupid. Like I don't get that. Like this isn't like a physical performing art. Like this isn't like an athlete or something. It doesn't make any sense. if anything, it's probably the opposite. An older creator probably has a higher skill set than a younger one, just because they've had more years of experience and trial and error. Now, there's been some creators that do age gracefully and some that don't. I will admit that, but they just change. It's not like they're any worse. I feel like that's corporate speak for hiring somebody cheaper. I did a video about this the other day, and the more I think about it, the more it's like you could, because I use this as an example, and I'm just going right back through my point in the video, but the people that they purposely aren't handing projects to, they'll hire for a variant cover.
Yeah.
So basically, as long as somebody will buy one cover, like one sheet of paper, like you only got to hire Art Adams to do one cover, one sheet of paper, and we can sell a $3 or $4 book. Why am I going to pay him 22 pages and a cover to make the same money?
Right.
It's a very weird thing.
They throw bones. And they do that with the writers too. Like even like Roy Thomas, Marvel.
No,
will
but
throw
they're also manipulating the market. Like they're not, because at this point they're selling a memory of an old Art Adams book to somebody like me, rather than selling me a new Art Adams book, with new content. And if they were doing that, they would probably be growing an audience. They would probably, there could be a 13-year-old me picking that book up and like, holy shit, look how cool X-Men look. They're not doing that. So it's a lot of it's business, but some of it's business, but some of it's like they're only playing with the profits that they're making, and it's not, they just don't have that. I don't think they have that corporate capital that everybody assumed they had, when Disney bought Marvel. I think they did at the beginning, but I think, less and less the big corporation think they need the comics division for ideas or to sink money in. Like it can be done on the cheap, or it better be done on the cheap, because you guys aren't making money. Well,
I think that everything, like these comic book, the people that are in charge right now, they're kind of like they're like the child that's reading the Choose Your Own Adventure book. And they're getting to a point where it's like, okay, Superman now, or Superboy is now here. And, you find out that Metallo has a kid. So you can either turn to page 13 to see Metallo, baby Metallo and Superboy get into a fight, or you could choose the woke agenda and make Superboy gay. He's like, all right, well, let's go to the gay portion. It's they're choosing. And they're finally at the end of the book, and I think they've kind of painted themselves in a corner. And where I was going with all of what I was saying is, I don't know if you remember back in the day when Marvel painted themselves to a corner, and they ended up having to basically reset the whole universe. They did the Age of Apocalypse, and they ended up doing the Heroes Reborn story, and they brought back Jim Lee. They brought back, Rob Liefeld. They brought back Will Spartaccio, and did all this. So I guess my question is like with you guys that are the new old guys, like if DC did a reboot and they came back and they're like, man, we really need to do this, EVS, we're doing a Heroes Reborn, would you come back and do Green Lantern? Shane, we're rebooting this, will you come back and do this? Because they need to reboot their property. Whereas Rob Liefeld and Jim Lee and Will Spartaccio, they all did come back. Do you think there's any chance that any of the people that are now in Comicsgate would go back to help pull them?
Why would they?
Well,
again, just to save the history.
Well, some of it's I hate to say this, but it would probably depend on money for some people, and everybody's the case. Well, but it did for Jim and Rob. I don't know how much you know about that. I'm not gonna try to speak on it, but
handsome.
They were paid.
We know they made some bucks.
They made some big bucks, so much so that Rob sent an artist on the plane with the files to go up to the Marvel office to get the check, because it was so much money he was afraid that Marvel wouldn't pay him for the last issue. So it was big bucks. And again, more on that story specifically. Heroes Reborn was about the properties that Marvel still kind of had left when they went into bankruptcy, and they were the properties that weren't selling. So they were actually trying to get those properties to work just so they could sell them off for movies. So there's more to that. That wasn't an organic story. That was manufactured. Like, let's make some hits for a portfolio for Hollywood.
Yeah.
And but anyways, let's get into it. If Marvel and DC, the problem is they're owned by Hollywood already, so I don't think that scenario would happen. But let's say it did. Let's just say it did. Would I go do it? Well, one, what am I getting paid? And if you do anything with it, do I get money as a residual with the character if there's a big movie or something like that? And it's from the content I came from my book, I would have to work all that out. And then I would have to carry the 1, 0, whatever. And then I would have to go like, no. And then I would have to go like, whatever time I'm putting in on this is time I'm not putting on something I own.
Yeah.
And I would have to, and I personally don't know. I mean, I'll tell you now, like Starlight Cats 1, the whole campaign, all said and done, we ran it for like 9-10 months. I made more on that than I did working at DC. So, I mean, it just, I don't know if they can touch it. Like, I'm sure there's money out there in the studio that exists. It's just like, I mean, what it takes for that situation to happen, would I probably not at this age. I mean, if I was younger, sure. I mean, I tell younger artists, I mean, this is what's weird. I suggest people go make a name like working at Marvel and DC. But the problem is, if you worked, and I might do a short video on this, if you worked at Marvel and DC right now to build up a name, what would you need to be on? Trans Spider-Man? Handy, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but those are the things that make headlines. Those are the things that get noticed. So, like, the idea of working at Marvel and DC to make a name, I mean, I guess, like, I liked Ryan Stegman's artwork a lot, like, earlier on, but he really didn't get huge till he was working on Venom, but that was only really getting huge because they were making a Venom movie. So even to make a name in comics today, you almost have to sacrifice yourself to, I'm going to be monetized by Hollywood and not get paid a movie ticket to go see it.
I mean, what about Ryan Otley?
But that's what I'm saying. It's like, it wasn't like that when I was getting into comics, and I would be very hard pressed to tell a kid, hey, you want to do crowdfunding comics, go make a name at Marvel and DC. Like, because it's so different. It's not the same as when I was getting in Marvel and DC. And I've had stuff of mine, and where they've had to pay me, and they pulled from movies and video games and stuff, and it's not the greatest feeling in the world, because you're very, very rarely ever compensated correctly for it. And you have to fight for it. Like, I mean, I have to go buy a Lego movie DVD and take screen captures to then tell them, you owe me for this DVD. Like, it's the most degrading stuff I've ever had to do in my life. And I wouldn't suggest that to an up and coming artist. I mean, that's just me being real. Like, if you're like, I'm going into a tangent here, but it's a very weird time in comics to make it in the comics. It's like the crowd, to me, crowdfunding is the future, or comics just aren't going to be around.
Yeah.
Like, that's how I see it, but I'm also seeing it after years of doing comics too. And I've seen the climate change so much.
Well,
and that's why you've got, Inglorious Rex comic book volume 2 up.
True.
Yeah, and that's why you've brought in on in your campaigns, you have brought in on your 3 projects, you're almost at $600,000. You're less than $5,000 away from $600,000. Why would you? Marvel or DC can't match that.
Well, and I did that in less than 3 years. That's like 3.5 years almost. Yeah. So, like, it's that sum, like, I mean, Look, it's hard, guys. I'm not gonna lie. Crowdfunding comics is the hardest I've ever worked in comics. Period. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about, Billy. You have to promote. You have to do the actual book. Then you have to do fulfillment. I mean, when you work at Marvel and DC, I mean, they're promoting your book or they want you to promote it. I mean, but you know, ideally, in a functioning business, they're doing your advertisement. You're not mailing your books out, you know, like you just do the work, turn it in and get paid. I mean, but like, how rewarding is it? You own your properties, you know, you can reprint your work, you know.
You do whatever you want.
You can do whatever you want. Yeah. And it's weird because when we compare ourselves with manga, or it comes up a lot because we're taking credit for those sales, but one thing that's not coming up is they basically have better creator deals. Like, you know, they have more incentives, you know, they have a stake in their properties. So you know, like in American, mostly in Marvel and DC stuff, unless it's creator owned at Image or Dark Horse or something like that, there's very little to no incentive for you to do your best work. Besides that, your pride in your work, that's it, you know, or your love for the character, you know. And I don't know, like I mean, like, I love the characters I drew at my time at DC. I was happy I got to draw them, but like, you know, I also like creating new things, and I would keep coming across assignments that asked me to create new villains and stuff that I didn't own, that then would end up in big video games like Injustice 2 or Lego games or stuff like that. And it's like, I feel a little robbed in a way, you know, like and not to shit on past creators, but it's kind of the past, it's the deals that were done in the past that built the road that these companies get away with this. I mean, and I'm not blaming past creators. It's just, you know, at a time they were doing it, it was just magazines. They were there one month and they were gone tomorrow. You know, like they didn't really, there was no real equity in these characters. You didn't even know. I mean, at the time they created Spider-Man, they never knew what they were doing. I mean, it was just an issue of Amazing Fantasy. You know, it didn't mean the character was going to stick around or anything. So it's hindsight's, you know, this what they call transmedia world we live in, where every comic can be a movie, a TV show, a Netflix deal, whatever. It's just I'd rather just make my own stuff if possible. Like if I can make, you know, enough to get by on and own my books, I will always, even if Marvel and DC pay me more. If I can make my bills and own it, I'm always going to pick that.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say one more thing that I'll probably quit talking. This is the first time I've got a chance to actually be on stream with you, so I really appreciate it.
No, thanks.
And man, I got to tell you, like I've been reading comic books a long time. I've read all the origin stories of all the superheroes and heroes that I liked and everything. But I got to tell you, my top 3 origin stories has the origin story that you created with Dexter. I think it was absolutely incredible. I think I don't think it gets as much credit as it deserves. But I just wanted to personally thank you for that, because I think it was probably one of the best written, illustrated, executed origins that I had seen since I've been collecting comics.
Yeah, that story like kind of hit people in the feels. Jelf came up with that story. There was a short of pages on that Green Lantern issue, and I think the artist was going to be late, and we did that story probably in a week. And the one thing that's my biggest contribution to that story is, one, all the goofy little kittens in the box, but 2, at the end with Dexter. There's a panel where I break it down where he's crying and talking to himself. Like that wasn't in the script at all. Like, so like I really wanted to twist the knife there at the end. Like, but a lot of people like that story. Yeah, that story kind of went viral, like on like image sites like Imgur and different things like that. A lot of people really like that story.
Yeah. So anyway,
well, thank you.
You heard it from me out of my own mouth. You know, a lot of people don't get a chance to really say that. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Appreciate it.
In my top 3, so of all time. Of all time.
Nice. So you guys have this campaign going. Now there has been some issues even in the chats. People are saying like the links weren't working, so we were reposting it up. So you got the campaign going, but it's kind of hard to find right now.
It's showing up on Google. It's just not showing up on right now. It is. I don't know how long it will be, but it has been kind of shadow banned at the moment on it's been shadow banned a little bit on Indiegogo site.
Itself, yeah.
Yeah. So now that it's showing up on Google, I'm hoping like it starts showing up on Indiegogo. But if you do go search Inglorious Rex 2, you will find it.
Just click INGLORIOUSREX.com. There you go.
Or INGLORIOUSREX.com, you will be shot to our site that then will have a link to go to the campaign. And we are currently funding now that subscription box. If I drop anything else in this campaign, book-wise, it will be added to that box. That is your one-stop shop. It will come with a miniature that you can paint for Inglorious Rex, about the size of the one I pulled up earlier. So if you see me, it's about that big. So it's a pretty sizable mini. This is one that's painted, of course. Yours will come like black and white, like here's the base, with the symbol on it. So it's pretty, nifty if you're into minis that we're doing that. People like them. That also comes with a white Del Keown cover that's exclusive to that box, and a lenticular fight poster mini print that comes in that box. That's like 7x10. But if you're new to Inglorious Rex, we do have a tier that I think it's a feature tier. Maybe you get Inglorious Rex 1, Inglorious Rex 2, and Blood, Sweat, and Tears Volume 2, which is our supplemental book, which are short stories. Shelby Robertson did one story for us, and he's doing another one. And they're usually like little side stories that kind of go to different corners of the Inglorious Rex universe that we didn't in the main book. I like those little short stories because it gives me an opportunity to write something like out of the main story completely. And I just get to have fun with some little corner story that is, provides more information, but you don't really have to have it. But they're a lot of fun. So I do suggest a lot of people pick that up along with it. We do have hats. A lot of people like our merch, so we offered some more hats. We have a 9 Lives trucker cap because the kids today, Billy, they like them trucker caps.
They love them.
Yeah.
I don't know what's up with that. And then we have the Rex ball cap, which has the logo, the official Rex logo, which is the fist inside of the cage with the monster claws coming off. So
badass.
Got some T-shirts.
Yeah, Dale Keown t-shirt and a Kenneth Rocafort t-shirt. So take your pick, guys. You can't lose either way. That is my cover to Inglorious Rex 2. I'm the Dale is the main cover. And then we have a 24-hour cover that's not up and available right now, but when it is up, we drop it like an hour or so as the campaign goes. We'll drop it for 1 hour and pull it down. But that cover is in the supplemental box. So I'm not supplemental, but subscription box. If you buy the subscription box, it's automatically included in it.
Nice.
There you go.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, best of luck to you, man. This is an awesome campaign, awesome book.
Yeah. And a great looking campaign too.
Shit.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
You guys have done so well. And you really are an inspiration to a lot of people. And I love the idea that you work together, Debbie and I work together, Ethan and Andrea work together, Graham and Julie work together, Aaron and Shelly. And the list goes on and on. And it's really cool. Something making it a family dynamic. And it's almost like the same thing with those who buy our books is that we look at them as a community, as a family, really. What was that Blevins creeping in over there? Was it
somebody pointing at somebody point at me and just gonna try to get them out of the way?
No, I mean the family dynamic's important, I think, because technically we are like mom and pop shop businesses, like we're small independent businesses, and it's like Neil Adams, like when he was doing Continuity Studios, like he had like his kids coloring some of those books and stuff. Like
Mhm.
Crazy.
like it's I mean, it's all hands on deck. I mean, I'm waiting for little Terry to get big enough to
Oh,
hold
boy.
Gemini Millers.
Yeah, he might actually fall in a Gemini mailer.
Yeah, that's why we had a kid, because we're a growing enterprise, Billy. We got to
That's it. Put him to work.
I
Yeah,
can't
Grow
be
your
hiring
workers.
people.
keep it in the family. Then you can have Fast and the Inglorious Rex. You know what
I can't be
It's all about
hiring
family.
people. I can't be hiring people. It's cheaper to make people.
That's right.
There you go. There you go. Well, Shane and Yanzi, thanks so much for hanging out with us. It's
No,
been
thank
awesome
you for
chatting
having
with you
us.
guys. Campaign looks great. I'm definitely going to back it myself. And everyone out there, also take a look at it. The link's below. The link is in the chat. It's in the description to this episode. Check it out. Back the book. If money's tight, the fun rule always is just share it. Share it on your social media, on your Facebook, your Twitter, your Instagram, anything to help continue with the independent community pushing out these awesome books.
True.
And Shane and Yanzi, we'll talk to you guys, I guess, next week about alternatives.
About alternatives. Yep.
About growing our empires,
growing in
All right.
expanding to new platforms and new horizons.
now.
The future is bright.
It is. It's so bright. I need sunglasses.
See?
Future's so bright, you got to wear shades.
Mhm.
There you go.
Thank
All right,
you guys.
everyone.
You guys are fantastic. What a great show. Yanzi Lin, Shane Davis, Hot Dog,
The
Bubba Bam.
Boom. Have a good night, everyone. We'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, guys. Keep on kicking ass.
See you. Hey everyone, thank you for joining us on Pop XP. If you haven't already, make sure to click that subscribe button and also click the bell for notifications when we go live and we upload some awesome new content. Also, don't forget to head on over to Twitter and follow us at the Pop XP and over on Instagram at the Pop XP. Thanks again everyone, and we'll see you soon.